Right now on Up with KREM, we're taking you outside and talking a cool start to the day. Temperatures cooler than they've been in more than a month.
The election for the Spokane City School Boards are being held next month. We're breaking down the positions and the best way for you to cast your vote. And last night, the Spokane Tenants Union met to discuss renters' rights in the state amid spiking rent, what they say is the best course of action for tenants in the city.
Up with KREM begins now.
We are now just one day away from the kickoff of the Tokyo Olympic Games. After months of travel, the Olympic torch will arrive in the city and they will ignite the flame, marking the beginning of the long-awaited event.
The opening ceremony is one of the most iconic events of the Olympics, and you might want to set your alarm clock because that opening event will start around 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. Tim, that's pretty early. You think they're going to re-air it? Say maybe later?
Oh, they'll have the highlights. They always got the good stuff on social media. Yeah, so you can watch the opening ceremonies at 4 a.m. and then flip on over to Up with KREM at 5, right?
Yeah, you're going to be nice and tired early tomorrow morning. I absolutely love the Olympics. I absolutely love the opening ceremony, but for some reason, I just don't have that Olympic buzz this go round.
It's because it's an odd year. It's supposed to be on even years.
Oh, that's a really good point.
But the good news is we get a Winter Olympics next year also.
So back-to-back Olympics.
A lot of Olympics.
Loving it.
All right, let's talk weather though, because if you're waking up this morning, you'll probably notice you should, it's a little bit cooler outside, so open up your windows.
Yeah, great tip, Tim. But here, I've got a little bit of a stat for you. You know me, I love numbers and number games. So here is your stat early this morning. That is that right now we are down in the low 50s. We have temperatures hanging out around 52 degrees here in Spokane, 58 over in Coeur d'Alene. And one of the things that you're going to notice is those cooler temperatures are going to feel cooler. And the reason they are going to feel so much cooler is because it's been since back in the middle of June that we've felt this kind of cool weather. We dipped down to 51 in Spokane this morning. The coldest we've been was June 17th at 50 degrees, and then on June 16th we were down in the 40s, so we haven't been in the 40s since all the way back then, and that's quite interesting. We have some air quality alerts in north central Washington today. That is for wildfire smoke, and some areas are already approaching that unhealthy level of air quality, and that smoke is eventually going to start to spread throughout the day. So for now, it's clear skies overhead, but as wind shifts directions, what you're going to wind up seeing is a little more of that smoke moving into Spokane. It's likely we wind up catching a little more of that later on today as our temperatures climb. We're back up in the 80s later on this afternoon, but it's the low 80s this go round. That's going to feel quite nice with all that sun and temps in the low 80s, but just keep an eye on air quality because throughout the day it will get a bit hazy. And as we head into the weekend, temperatures are on the rise, so this might be one of those days you want to enjoy.
Rent has been going up in Spokane after Governor Jay Inslee's eviction moratorium lifted restrictions on raising rent. Last night, the Spokane office of Tenants Union of Washington State held an urgent meeting to talk about what rights renters have after raising rent began to spike around Washington. This includes the right to counsel and the need for just cause for eviction. Also, rental history during the pandemic can't be considered by future potential landlords. But here's the big issue. There is no rent control in Washington, and legally, cities cannot put a cap on rent increases. Only the state can do that. But the tenants union says the city can make landlords give relocating money to tenants who are forced out by high rent prices and extend the rent increase notice from 60 to 90 days, giving tenants more time to find new housing. In less than 2 weeks, Washington State will hold a primary election on August 3rd. Earlier this morning, we told you about the city council positions on the ballot. And right now, Brandon T. Jones joining us live to talk about the open school board positions. Good morning, Brandon.
Good morning, Tim. That's exactly right. We're breaking down a field of candidates in Spokane County for both city council and school board positions in Spokane and Spokane Valley. As you mentioned, we've already touched on the city council position, so let's go ahead and talk about the school board positions here in Spokane. Races with more than 2 candidates will see candidates eliminated in this election. The top 2 will move on to the general election, and all of the races but one have at least 3. Let's go ahead and move on. There are a number of school board positions open in the area. For Spokane Public Schools, Board of Directors, position 3 and 4 are both up for the taking. Both current board members decided not to seek re-election. For position 3, there are 8 candidates to choose from. For the Central Valley School District, Board of Directors, position 5, with 3 new candidates on the ballot. You can vote by mail. Just make sure you vote and drop off that ballot by 8 p.m. on the day of the election, or you can vote at a county elections office in person until the day of election on August 3rd. You can also register to vote on that day and have your vote count. Lots of information was just thrown out at you, so if you still need a little bit more details, go ahead and text us the word election to 509-448-2000. We'll get an entire guide sent directly to your phone. Tim?
Well, a 20-mile stretch of the North Cascades Highway will likely remain closed through the rest of July. The closure is between milepost 165 and milepost 185, which is west of Mazama in the Methow Valley. The stretch of the state Route 20 was closed earlier this month because of multiple wildfires burning in that area. The Washington Department of Transportation says there's no way around this on State Route 20, and drivers should plan to use US 2 or I-90 to travel across the state. It is time for your morning rush. More news in less time. A missing Army officer was found dead near the Coldwater hiking trail on Mount St. Helens. First Lieutenant Brian Yang was reported missing on Sunday. The local sheriff's office says searchers found him unresponsive after an apparent fall down a 200-foot embankment. Health officials are urging people to begin carrying Narcan as Washington begins to see a rise in overdose deaths. There were 418 overdose deaths in the first 3 months of 2021, and around 46% of those deaths were linked to fentanyl. Narcan is a life-saving nasal spray that can help reverse the effects of an opioid overdose. It's been more than 100 days since the Puget Sound has seen the beloved J-pod of orcas. This is the first time since 1976 the pod has been missing from the Salish Sea for this long. Historically, May through September is the peak season for orca activity, with daily appearances of the endangered killer whales being the norm. However, this year is different. The last time J-pod was seen in the area was on April 10th near the San Juan Islands. The inaugural team for the Seattle Kraken is finally chosen. On Wednesday, the team held an expansion draft where they could pick players from across the country. Other NHL teams could protect a select number of players, but everyone else was fair game. A total of 30 players from 30 different teams were tapped to play for the newest NHL team. That's your morning rush. More news in less time. Let us know what's happening in your neighborhood by using the hashtag #UpWithKREM on social media. The Washington State primary for county officials is next month. In the next half hour, we'll break down the easiest way for you to vote.
And we're going to take you outside where we've got nice clear skies overhead for now. We're talking the reason our air quality likely drops later today.